Welcome back. So the title of this mini lecture is the 1904 Olympics. We're going to talk about 5 terms that as you read more about this particular Olympics event, that you can use these to help you as a gateway, again, to get a sense of what was going on at that time. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing that it's important to recognize is that the 1904 Olympic Games, the Summer Games, are held actually in St. Louis. And St. Louis is, it's a fascinating place. If you go these days, of course, you've got the Arch and all the museums and the baseball and everything, and it's really cool. So you have Native American communities, of course, that had been there for a very long time. You have French individuals who found the city in 1764. And it's a city that serves really in the 19th century as kind of a fascinating crossroads for parts of expansion within the 19th century, elements of sort of frontier dynamics and that kind of thing, and then of course in thinking about regional and history, the power and importance of the Mississippi River within the context of the 19th century prior to the wider ubiquity of rail, kind of set the city of St. Louis as this really, really, really important place. So it's a fascinating space, and for this particular Olympics, and this takes us to sort of our next point. It's occurring, as the World's Fair is ongoing. All right. And that particular World's Fair, this Louisiana Purchase Exposition, right, is one that really reflected in many ways its time. So the exposition itself, right, the fair itself is kind of laid out in this forest park, and there's any number of pavilions that folks can go and to be able to not only see different kinds of agricultural goods, but other sort of consumer goods and that kind of thing on display. But that kind of brings us to our third point, which is important for thinking about the Olympics at the time, and important for understanding the fair itself and the exposition itself. And the phrase for us is anthropology days. So, fair culture at the end of the 19th century and exposition culture at the end of the 19th century, often in the scholarship, is kind of explained as a space where you have government institutions or other entities that can kind of construct an environment and then bring communities and people into that environment. Okay. However, the sad reality is, oftentimes at the end of the 19th century and the early 20th century, you have views on race, views on gender, views that are later known as, obviously, eugenics, which would be our fourth term. You have categorization of races and peoples, in a way that, of course, we today would look at it as horrifically racist and horrifically troubling. But within the late 19th century, there was a normalization of this process for some to put groups and communities essentially on display for fairgoers. And this was something that not only occurred at St. Louis, it occurred at other expositions and fairs and, different, other kinds of entertainment grounds as well, for peoples to come, and to look at these individuals. Now, anthropology days then, pitted communities, from these different, areas around the world, essentially in these kinds of sports. And so it's a real sad commentary, right? Of course, on this particular Olympic Games. But it reflected, the realities of the games at this time. It reflected the realities of how folks, how normalized eugenics and other views on race were at the time, and the eugenical sort of realities of this, and the racialized realities of this, again, are a difficult legacy, or a difficult part of that particular history. And that kind of brings us to our fifth term, which is actually just consumer goods, right? So, on one side, you have this horrible reality of the racialized nature of some of the games, and of some of these, spaces where peoples, including individuals from the Philippines and elsewhere, are put on display, which is awful. But then on the other side, you have this, kind of exposure to other kinds of things that, struck people as well, right? So if you were to go into certain exhibits, Pillsbury had a pavilion, right? Sort of this kind of thing. Or even Jell-O is on display, right? This kind of stuff, which was seen as engaging and, something to kind of bring people in at the time. So, you've got a lot at the World's Fair and the Olympics in 1904 in St. Louis. Thank you.